With U.S. troops shifting away from the battlefield in Iraq and officials reducing American troop numbers, right now there are more contractors in Iraq than military forces. So what happens to them? CNN executive producer Suzanne Simons joins me now. Her book, Master of War, focuses on the private security giant formerly called Blackwater, which was huge in Iraq. Is Blackwater out of Iraq? Let me start there. Suzanne, first of all, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Tony.
Is Blackwater out of,
Thanks for talking about
formerly known as Blackwater?
Formerly known. The company is now called Z. They were stripped of most of their responsibilities for the Department of State in Iraq earlier this year when the Iraqi government finally said, we don't want these guys here anymore. Yeah. You remember there's that shooting in 2007 which prompted the whole thing. All right,
so and talk to us about that, because that was a horrific incident.
Yeah, it was.
And it really, in large measure, changed the way we look, at Blackwater and the work at contractors in Iraq.
Yeah, it did, and ultimately, I think it led to kind of the downfall of the company, which I talk about in the book, and you kind of see this snowball effect. But that day was, a day like any other. There were contractors out on the streets. They had moved into this traffic circle in Nisor Square, which is just outside Baghdad, and they were trying to clear it for another convoy that was coming through. And, there are different stories about what set off the fire, but nonetheless, something did, and the contractors fired off just with incredible firepower. 17 Iraqis dead at the end of the day.
Right.
The Iraqi government saying it's murder, get them out of here. The U.S. State Department saying, that's not really going to work for us right now. We kind of need them there.
Yeah. Boy, let's take a big step back, and let's talk about the role that contractors play in Iraq, but if we can, let's broaden this out, because they're working in Afghanistan as well, correct?
Yeah, they are.
So let's talk about their role, the role of contractors, and the kinds of jobs they're doing in these two countries.
Right. Well, the U.S. has really changed the way it goes to war with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the jobs that troops were doing, whether it's driving convoys from point A to point B, cooking breakfast for the troops, or now providing armed security for diplomats and visiting people, are now done by contractors, where they used to be done by members of the military. It's a huge shift.
Well, what's interesting there, is there an overarching sort of philosophy from the State Department on the role of contractors? Because, the criticism is that we're essentially, it's akin to farming out war.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Department of State. It's also the Pentagon. It's also the CIA. It's also various other intelligence agencies. They're all doing it now. And so you've seen this sort of seismic shift. But they do have guidelines. This September 16th incident we talked about, that shooting, has really put a lot of pressure on the government to, be more responsible, if you ask me, to work more on defining what is inherently governmental, what jobs should not ever be given to a contractor, and what jobs should always be done by a member of the United States government or military.
Did the Pentagon admit to you that it could not do what it was doing in Iraq and Afghanistan without
the State Department did.
The State Department did.
The State Department did. They, after that shooting, the Iraqi government was really insistent on getting this company out. And the State Department went back and said, hey, we don't have another company, or we don't have enough troops in the military who can take over the function they're providing for us right now. We need time. Yeah.
The Blackwater story is fascinating. How did Blackwater become the biggest player in this military contracting world?
It's a perfect storm. You have it headed by Erik who's someone who had enormous wealth on his own from an inheritance.
Right.
He had a military background, a former Navy SEAL. He had the desire and the vision to go out and make a business out of providing the government what he felt like it needed and what it did need.
Yeah, and Erik Prince has a personality. We had lunch over just talking about this guy. And you were so good. I wanted to dig into the more salacious aspects of this guy's life, and you really stayed away and you stayed focused on his company. But this is come on, he is a complex individual.
The private life stuff, it's not really my thing. He's got all those stories too, like all of us.
I was trying to dig deeper, and you were like, stay away from it, Tony.
That's right. But he's an incredible drive that I think really dictated the personality of the company for quite a while. And, he wants to get things done. He doesn't want to take no for an answer, but that's not always a good thing.
Well,
sometimes it seems like a good thing, but it's a mixed
bag. As I hold up the book, Master of War, Suzanne Simons, a terrific book. Your first book.
Thank you. My
Your first book,
yeah.
And doing well. You're selling copies.
Yeah,
great.
So.
We want to help you with that because we love you around here. And also, when is what's the big actor who's looking at least possibly doing some...
Oh, there are a few. I can't, you know.
I can.
We'll see if there'll be a movie. I don't know.
Because this guy is a really compelling character, and trust me,
he kind of looks like Nick Robertson, don't you think? Our own Nick Robertson?
Suzanne, appreciate it. Thanks for the time, and the best with the book.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
It's a great story. All right, and you've done some blogging for us?
I did, yeah.
All right, so more of Suzanne's thoughts on my blog, our show team's blog. Just log on to CNN.com/Tony and check out her post. All right, lawmakers get back to work on health care reform, trying to overcome opposition from Republicans and some Democrats. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tells our John King